So how it's going to affect us in North Haven. That's why you're there.
And you have to have the feel of the constituents, and then you should have a good dialogue with the first selectman, or if you're in a community with the mayor, and if I'm elected, I'm going to have a quarterly, basically Q&A session where we discuss issues with all parties, everybody's welcome, and you get a feel and you keep in tune of the community.
What the people are concerned with anywhere in the world, taxes. High taxes is very difficult. Now, when you have high taxes, it kills businesses. It automatically does. And when they want to take from the rich and give it to the poor, then there's no more rich. We have all poor.
The human nature of a human being is you want to be self-sufficient.
You have to be. And I'm proud of you because you had a little hindering in life. You told me you had a little trouble with your knees and your foot.
Well, not my knee, my leg.
Your leg. Let's hear a little about that and how you overcame that.
Well,
and why you overcame it, why you opened your store.
I had severe blood clots in my left pelvis groin area quite a long time ago in the mid-'80s. And I had eventually had bypass surgery on my left leg, right to left leg, femoral to femoral. And I was advised possibly never to work in the field I was in before. I was an auto mechanic, or even possibly never to even work again. I was 2 young children. My daughter wasn't even born yet. And I just couldn't see me living my life that way. I played sports, I worked, I liked working, I liked providing for my family. And with diligence and perseverance and faith and hard work and a great therapist, I was back to work in a few months. Ultimately, I eventually left working as a mechanic because just the fear of clotting or bleeding, we're dealing with machinery. I opened the collectible business I'm in now for the last 19 years. Since then, I've gotten so much better. I hiked, I played sports, I've done everything really since. I'm very fortunate.
So you have determination. That's what I wanted to hear, the word determination.
Perseverance.
And determination to do a good job. Okay. Now you're in your own business, and I told Mr. Mike Frieda, he's our first selectman in North Haven. He left a wonderful business, he owned the company. He was the president of it. I said, why do you want to leave that to become a first selectman? I said, I think you're crazy. And I tell him every time I see him, because I know he's working 25 hours a day, and maybe 26 if they could squeeze more hours in at him.
I believe that.
And you'll be doing the same thing, I imagine. But you're a businessman, and I like businessmen to run for office. I always did.
Most people in business, and it could be in the general public, you have that drive. You always have to remember, though, in public service, there's always that human element. You have to keep that in mind, and I keep that in mind. But it's the drive and the perseverance. So hard work I enjoy hard work. I like to have goals. I like to accomplish things, and that would be my goal. My goal, if I'm the representative of this town, if I have that privilege, will always work as hard as I possibly can for the citizens as a whole. After all, I live here. My family lives here. You live here, Joe. And that's the goal. It should be the goal of any state representative or state senator.
I personally believe in, I don't know how you do, term limits. In other words, you're going into Hartford, we'll say you get elected. You stay there so many years, then you turn it over to somebody else. Don't make a career out of it. It is not a business. It's not a career for anyone. You want to do your best till your time is up. You're all done. A new man goes in. I might go in next time and do a better job. I don't know. But someone else will take over after I'm in, and someone else will take over. You have to get new ideas, new people. But when you get complacent and you're in there, and they want to vote on something, you raise your hand and go along with it. You want to be one of the boys, and that is definitely wrong, and I don't like that. In our congressman there, Mr. Rangel, up in there 40 years. Corruption, corruption, corruption. Our senator we had here, there's all kinds of corruption going on, especially with Fannie Mae and all that, because they're in there, they think they're God and they're doing this right. When you investigate every one of them, there's a lot of corruption. Term limits, clean the slate, put new people in.
So before I started running for this election, I did not believe in term limits. I really didn't. We believe in the will of the people to vote. What I'm seeing now when I walk, many people don't follow what a state representative or senator does, or even a congressman, even the governor, I think they do. So saying that, you always want to put it in the hands of the population, but I think as an elected official, many times people get complacent and they lose that drive, unfortunately. And also, I do like the idea of passing it on. I coached in Little League, and I Babe Ruth, and before that in minor leagues, and I did scouts for years. And eventually, you pass it on to another father or mother to do the same job.
Right.
And it gives fresh perspective, new ideas, and you learn from one another. And so I'd have to say, if I had a vote now, I'd probably be in favor of term limits. To the extent of that, I don't know the actual number.
Well,
but
what happens if you don't have term limits? Everybody becomes buddy-buddy with everyone, and they want something passed, and they're from the other part of the state. Oh, yeah, I'll go along with it because we're friends. But that's wrong. It's going to hurt us in North Haven. So,
well, what's happening now, the man I'm running against, he's supporting a judge of East Haven strictly for political purposes over
our own
judge of probate, Michael Brandt. Now, saying that, I mean, that's anybody's right, but you shouldn't be the representative of a town and the sitting third selectman. And nothing against East Haven. I think it's a great town, but I just think those are the things that what happens is people get complacent, and it's a party first. I'll say it, and I mean it. I'm a proud Republican, but my goal, if I'm the state representative, is the citizens of North Haven, not the party. And I've made it clear with the leadership I spoke up in Hartford a few months ago when I decided to take this on, that as long as it's ethical and right for the community, I'm on board. But if it's not what I feel is going to benefit the North Haven citizens, you can't count on me. It's got to be right.
It's got to be right. Always remember these words I'm going to tell you. The average person does not like to pay a lot of taxes. And if you could save money on taxes, that's the whole key on anything, is taxes. Now they have I won't get into the politics of the United States. We're going down the drain with all this nonsense that's going on. I hope the hell it clears up in November. But taxes. Locally, it's taxes. You have some people that have homes. They've been here for 50 years. They're having trouble meeting their payments, and we don't need that. Now, if you could get more money for the school system, to pay for our school system, and we could, from the state, they mandate, you pay for it.
I'd like to discuss that a little.
Yeah.
The education cost sharing formula now is definitely, it's an imbalance. Like I said earlier, there are some municipalities that will gain more dollars for actually failing. Towns like North Haven that do well will, in many cases, lose money for succeeding. It's almost an incentive, the way it's formulated, to fail for municipalities. Some towns get $6,000. We get $800. North Haven gets $881 per student.
Because our kids are smarter and we're working harder.
We have a great school system, great teachers, I believe, and just the way our town is run, it's run in the right way with good incentives, great parent involvement. So you can't fault all the other towns and cities, but the fact of the matter is it's an imbalance. And the person I'm running against is part of the supermajority. And Governor Jody Rell in 2007, along with the Republicans, went to look at this formula to make it fair for all municipalities and towns, and basically share or spread, reproportion the dollars. And nothing was done of that. Now, if I'm part of that supermajority, you have the upper hand to do those things. At least, especially with a 14-year career, you have the upper hand to listen. Our town is getting shorthanded. We have to fight for this. We need more money. It's not right, and we haven't had anything done about it. And what happens is that affects our tax base.
Folks, what it means is if we had more money in our town, we would pay less taxes because our school budget is pretty high.
Yeah, most school budgets are. Yeah.
They are high, but I mean, if we can get stuff from the state, we could lower our taxes. That's very important. I don't know how much time we have left. We've been talking here a while, and
our state legislators right now are voted the least business friendly in the whole country. And when we discuss taxes affect jobs. Jobs are key. If people aren't working, they can't pay taxes. We need taxes for health and human services, schools, infrastructure. But if we're one of the least business-friendly states without the legislative body, and with the legislative body, we're the least business-friendly state, companies like Marlin Firearms and other companies leave the state. And what happens is we collect less sales tax, less income tax, and there's a greater burden on our unemployment. And our pension plan and unemployment plan currently are going bankrupt or going broke. We owe hundreds of millions, a couple billion in just the state pension plan that's not paid for right now.